everybody. Very pleased to welcome you to the show. I'm Michael Lansbury.
And I'm Brendan Connor, and the story today is the Canadian Football League on a couple of different fronts. The word for the day, though, is big.
Big deal between the Eskimos and Argonauts, big being quite perhaps an understatement.
And a little bit of a, well, not a little bit, a big embarrassment with the withdrawal of the San Antonio expansion franchise. We'll get to that, but let's kick off the show with the NHL scores and highlights, and Michael will get us started in Boston.
That Edmonton has been the place to be this week for big stories. Last night, there was the stunning announcement that the San Antonio Texans would not be joining the CFL next season. And today, the biggest trade in league history took place when the Edmonton Eskimos and the Toronto Argonauts made a 16-player swap. It was a deal where clearly the focal point was the quarterback position. Tracy Ham, of course, one of the principals in that deal, going from Edmonton to Toronto. Ricky Foggy, the quarterback, going the other way. Ham has been saddled to some extent with the label that he couldn't win the big game, but his performance, if you look at regular season, has been terrific for the Eskimos. As for Ricky Foggy, probably a great change of scenery for him. He was largely blamed by Argonaut fans for the team's poor performance last year. The other two key principals, Darrell K. Smith, going with his quarterback, Ricky Foggy, and Craig Ellis coming from Edmonton. So two quarterbacks and two slot backs. And here's the way it works if you run it all down. It's Ricky Foggy going from Toronto to Edmonton, and he goes along with Darrell K. Smith, not coming off his best season. Ed Berry, a terrific cornerback who also wasn't sharp this season. He could be one of the keys to the deal. If he can get it back, he is perhaps the premier cornerback in the league. Eddie Brown, a wide receiver, picked up around mid-season. He can play some slot as well. Leonard Johnson, a defensive end who was a basketball player in college. Don Wilson, who was an ex-Edmonton Eskimo, I believe, released by the Eskimos, went to Toronto where he played very good football at safety. Bruce Dixon, a Canadian linebacker. And J.P. Escuero, a Canadian running back and a Canadian slot back. So that's what's going towards Edmonton. Coming in the direction of Toronto, Craig Ellis, the fine slot back, who is also not coming off his best season of his career. Travis Oliver, a defensive back who some say has some promise. Amos Jackson, a defensive back as well, who has been an all-star in the past. Chris Johnstone. No question, Chris Johnstone will fit in with the Argonauts. He's a fullback, a running back. The Argonauts could use a Canadian. Cam Brousseau and Ken Winey, a slot back. These players going to the Toronto Argonauts along with Canadian defensive back John Davis. And the big one, of course, Tracy Ham going from Edmonton, Toronto as the CFL. Those two teams complete the largest trade in history.
Well, as you can imagine, news of this trade traveled quickly throughout the CFL. This one involved a ton of players, as you know, and many, like Tracy Ham, Ricky Foggy, Darrell K. Smith, and Craig Ellis, are players who can make an immediate impact on any team. And for that reason, the deal has made an immediate impact on people around the CFL.
Well, I actually had a meeting with a young man this morning, and it was at 10 o'clock, and I was on my way. And just as I was walking out the door, I got a call. Like all trade, when someone gets traded, they're just walking out the door, and Ronnie tells me there's a trade been made. I should come by his place before I mute the guy. So needless to say, I had to cancel my meeting to learn that I had been traded.
Getting Tracy Ham, I mean, that's to let go of a player like that is very difficult. You know, we did it a year ago when we didn't re-sign Matt Dunnigan for financial reasons. And but to gain him, his abilities, his quickness, his size, his strength, and most of all his leadership qualities. He's a winner. And to play in the Sky Dome, it's going to only enhance all of his abilities he has. To get Ellis, who's one of the top slot backs in the league, we give up Darrell K. Smith, who was also one of the top guys.
As a coach in the same division, you always have apprehensions about any trade. But obviously, when you see a Tracy Ham go east, that relieves you a little bit. But yet, when you see D.K. Smith and Foggy coming west, that concerns you also. But when you look at the trade, I think you have to look at the nucleus of the players, and these are quality players. And obviously, both teams seem to be going in different directions as far as what their teams are going to be like in '93.
It is a big trade. The number of good football players that change teams today is probably more than at any other time in this league. But basically, it came down to a couple things. The Toronto Argonauts desperately wanted a starting, proven quarterback in this league, and I think the whole deal hinged on Tracy Ham. With Tracy, they're getting just what they want. A guy coming into his own at just about the right age. He's who they expected to lead them, you know, back to the respectability that they had in 1991. When we started talking trade, it just sort of grew and grew and grew.
Some people I'm familiar with, and blending with the type of guys that we have here, I think that be for a solid team. I think the whole overall package was a good deal for both clubs. But I'm excited to get some of the guys here that I've known, and you know, I was also looking forward to working with Tracy, but that didn't happen. So I wish him all the luck over there. And but we're happy with the situation we're in now.
I was a teammate of Tracy in 1987 when we won the Grey Cup, and actually it was against Toronto, as a matter of fact. And the funny thing about Tracy, he has an uncanny ability to be able to take the game into his own hands and win a game. And he's an impact player. I know a lot of times last year people were criticizing Ricky Foggy, and I kind of feel unjustly so at times. You know, I'm still a Ricky Foggy fan, and we're going to have to chase my good buddy Ricky next year.
Sorry to say, but we did need a sort of a shake-up, and changes were going to happen regardless. It's something as players we don't have any control over that, but we had some indication that was about to happen.
16 guys. I mean, we've just changed 1/5 of our roster from last year, so pretty amazing stuff. And I guess I'm still in a little bit of shock. It's going to take a little bit of time for it to settle in and to get a sense of where we stand. I'm happy, though, I don't have to chase Tracy Ham around anymore.
I played for Hugh Campbell and Rich Dubler before, and a few other guys over there, and I had a lot of friends there. So it's not going to be really a tough adjustment. It's just, you know, the fact of going and starting all over for me.
Yeah. Did you see this coming? Maybe not with you, but with the team after what happened last year?
Well, you know, of course, with a year like we had last year, of course, we had to make some kind of changes. I just didn't know I was going to be it.
Yeah.
You know, in the long run, the secondary players in this deal might rise up and sway it one direction or the other. But for right now, this deal seems to begin and end with Tracy Ham and Craig Ellis for Ricky Foggy and Darrell K. Smith. At that level, at least, it looks like a big advantage to Toronto. Here's Chris Sedens with a look at those 4 key players.
A major reason why the Toronto Argonauts went from Grey Cup champions in 1991 to missing the playoffs in '92 was the lack of a solid first-string quarterback. Ricky Foggy struggled last season and will hope for a brighter future in Edmonton. His favorite receiver is also on his way to Edmonton, and no doubt slot back Darrell K. Smith hopes he can get back on track with the Eskimos as well. Smith is coming off an injury-plagued season and has also had his fair share of off-field controversy. To acquire these players, the Eskimos are giving up one of the best quarterbacks in the Canadian Football League, 7-year veteran Tracy Ham. Ham was the league's most outstanding player in 1989, and in 1990 set a CFL record with 1,096 rushing yards. Craig Ellis is a 10-year veteran and carries the CFL's longest consecutive game streak with at least 1 reception in his last 119 games. Chris Sedens, TSN.